Have you ever noticed that the more you overthink something, the harder it becomes? It's not because you lack talent or skill. It's because overthinking tangles your mind. Let me share a story about a man who learned this lesson the hard way. This man was no ordinary person. People called him the magician of locks because he could open any lock, no matter how old, rusty, or complex. Even locks that had been abandoned for decades would pop open in seconds under his expert hands. People were amazed by his talent. They invited him to exhibitions, handed him ancient locks to unlock, and cheered as he worked his magic. He even appeared on TV shows, sharing stories about his rare skill. Over time, his confidence grew. He believed that no lock in the world could stop him. One day, a wealthy businessman approached him with a challenge. "There's a grand competition in the city," he said. "If you win, you'll get a prize of 10 lakh rupees. The magician was excited. A competition would only add to his reputation. He accepted without hesitation. On the day of the event, the atmosphere was electric. A large swimming pool had been set up as the stage. In the center of the pool was a heavy, sealed metal box. A crowd gathered, their phones ready to record. The magician arrived, and the audience cheered. He smiled confidently. The organizer explained the challenge. "You'll sit inside this box, and we'll lower it into the pool. Your task is to unlock it and swim out before you run out of air. If you're in trouble, press the emergency button, and we'll pull you up immediately." The magician laughed. "That's it? I've opened locks underwater before. This will be easy." The crowd clapped as he stepped into the box. Inside, it was cold and dark, but he felt no fear. This was his skill, his domain. He gave the signal, and the box was lowered into the water. As the box sank, silence filled the air. All eyes were on him. Inside, he took a deep breath and got to work. But something was different this time. No matter what trick he tried, the lock wouldn't budge. He used every technique, every tool, but it remained stuck. Sweat formed on his forehead despite the freezing water. His hands trembled. "What's happening? Why isn't this working?" As seconds passed, panic crept in. The silence inside the box was deafening. The weight of the water above felt heavier with every moment. What if I fail? What if everyone laughs at me? The more he thought, the worse it got. His chest tightened, and his breathing became shallow. His mind raced with fear and doubt. "I've opened thousands of locks. Why can't I open this one?" His hands became clumsy. His thoughts were louder than his instincts. The harder he tried, the further success slipped away. His air was running out. In that moment of desperation, he realized something. If I don't stop overthinking, I'll lose my life over a lock. With shaking hands, he pressed the emergency button. The team above acted fast, pulling the box out of the water. As soon as the lid opened, he gasped for air, his face pale with shame. He could hear the murmurs from the crowd. He avoided their eyes. His confidence was shattered. "They must think I'm a fraud." As he shifted inside the box, the door suddenly swung open. He stared in shock. The lock had been a trick. It wasn't locked at all. The organizer smiled knowingly. "It was never about the lock," he said. "Your real obstacle was your own mind. You let overthinking trap you." The magician was speechless. He looked at the crowd, not with shame, but with gratitude. "Today, I've learned the greatest lesson of my life," he said, his voice trembling. "Overthinking makes even the simplest things impossible. Sometimes we just need to trust ourselves and act without fear." In life, our greatest battles are often fought in our minds. Overthinking turns small problems into big ones, creates imaginary fears, and holds us back from success. Whether it's a dream, a relationship, or a challenge, trust yourself and take action. Simplicity in thought brings clarity in action. And sometimes, the lock we think is holding us back was never locked at all.